I'd like to tell you all a little secret, but you have to promise not to tell anyone else. The goal of a successful nonprofit education program is not education. Let me repeat that. The goal of nonprofit education is not education. I'll get back to that in just a minute. But first, I'd like to tell you about a student of mine named Artha. 2 weeks ago, Artha and I were having lunch in Bangalore. And like most college seniors, she'd been applying to jobs. That afternoon, she had some exciting news to tell me. She'd just gotten a job offer at her first choice company, Goldman Sachs. Getting a job at Goldman Sachs is not easy, but she started off with all the right tools. She had a great starting education, and despite heartbreaking challenges, she stayed in school and went on to a top-tier college in India. Landing that job at Goldman Sachs was the culmination of a lifetime of hard work. Artha had all the essential ingredients for success, so perhaps it isn't surprising that she made it to where she is now, unless you know where she came from. One of my most vivid memories of Artha was the day she graduated from high school. The day before, she carried her mother in her arms by herself to a local clinic. No one else would help her because her mother was infected with HIV. Her stepfather, who was also infected, swore that if he was going to die, they would die with him. Once her mother was safe and well taken care of, Artha returned back to school. Exhausted but undefeated, Artha told me that it was okay. That what she had faced was just another part of life. What she had faced was just another part of life. And that what she faced was just another part of life. And that she just had to keep on going forward. Then she took to the stage and gave the most radiant speech I have ever seen. Artha was born into a life of extreme poverty and abuse, an alcoholic father who beat her and her mother daily, and an equally violent stepfather who took over after her father abandoned them. Once her stepfather contracted HIV, he became murderous, forcing Artha and her mother to flee for their lives. It isn't obvious when you look at Artha and see that wonderful, caring young woman that she came from a life of discrimination, deprivation, and abuse, a cycle of poverty that has trapped her family for generations. So how did Artha make it? She got an education that mattered. At the age of 4, she came to us, the Shanti Bhavan School. I'm the director of operations for the Shanti Bhavan School, and our program is exclusively for children from India's lowest social and economic class, in most cases, the Untouchables. We offer all of our children a free boarding school education from preschool until 12th grade, including a robust arts, academic, and athletic program. We cover everything for them: food, clothing, housing, and medical care. And once they've graduated from high school, we pay for their entire undergraduate college degree, mentoring and supporting them throughout the entire process. That is 17 years of intense educational intervention per child, from the age of 4 until 21. Shanti Bhavan is the only school of its type in the entire world, and it represents a radical shift from the traditional nonprofit educational model. This model isn't easy. In fact, it's exactly as hard and as demanding as it probably sounds. But it is worth it, because long-term educational intervention works. It is a fundamental principle of Shanti Bhavan. It is the only way a child from extreme poverty can step out into the light and join us as equal members of society. I'm often asked, doesn't this model cost a lot? Yes, it definitely does. But perhaps not as much as you may think it does. It's only about $4 a day per child at Shanti Bhavan. The resources are out there for programs like Shanti Bhavan to make them real. On an institutional level, on an individual level. But people want to know that their investment matters. Donor fatigue is a real thing. But when people see what this model can achieve, they know it represents a radical shift from programs that they've invested in the past. They know that it works because long-term educational intervention works. Often programs focus on a single issue, a single symptom of poverty, and hope that a quick fix will solve the entire problem. But poverty is pervasive and surrounds an entire person's life. That's why Shanti Bhavan takes a holistic approach. Our program gives full-fledged education from the very first day they start in school till the very first day they enter the professional workforce. We create a home-like environment that is nurturing, supportive, and takes care of all of their basic living needs. And we promote self-confidence and leadership qualities so that they have a belief in themselves to go on to higher education and become white-collar professionals, that they feel like they can stand as equal members of society. And that's how Artha made it. But while Artha is remarkable, so are Shanti Bhavan classmates. They've gone on to jobs at companies like Ernst & Young, Mercedes-Benz, Deloitte, and Goldman Sachs. And they've won awards in sports and athletic competitions, like the Kingfisher Award for soccer, and the New Voices in a New Age poetry contest, hosted by the Times of India, the third largest newspaper in the world. The Shanti Bhavan graduates are all amazing, and they've all excelled with the right support and education. When we first started Shanti Bhavan, we surveyed the surrounding 17 villages. And what we discovered was most of the people in the area had actually gotten some form of education. Even the most impoverished parents of the children of Shanti Bhavan had gone to some level of schooling. And that stark realization hit me. Basic literacy is not enough. Basic literacy is the primary basic benchmark of the traditional nonprofit education field. But what does basic literacy do? I can tell you what it doesn't do. It doesn't get you through high school. It doesn't get you into a good college or into the white-collar professional workforce. It doesn't teach you how to save money or how to negotiate a loan at a bank. And it isn't designed to end poverty. That's why it's failing. Look around you. Look at your friends, think about the people next to you, think about your friends and family, the people you admire most. Where would they be now if all they got was basic literacy for an education? Where would you be now? What would happen if all you had was an education up till 10 years old or 12 years old? What would your future be? We've set the bar so low for the poor. We've expected so little for them. We've said they can only get so far, but no further. I think it's cruel to promise a child an education and not deliver on it, not deliver to a future for them. When I look at Shanti Bhavan and I think about the impact that the children have, I can see their futures. They're already going on to do amazing things. They've entered the professional workforce. Even as students, they go back and teach. They go back to their villages and they help other children during holidays and vacations. Some, like Artha, come back and tutor on holidays. They're making an impact from the very start. And when they enter the professional workforce, they send money back to their families and immediately uplift them from poverty. In fact, our graduates will make more money in the first 5 years working than their parents have made in a lifetime. That's impact that matters. That's sustainability. That's breaking a mold. Shanti Bhavan is special. And at the moment, it's unique. But it shouldn't be. The resources are out there, and there's so many variations possible on Shanti Bhavan. We can create it, but we need the hard work. We need to invest. We need to believe that it is just important to give the same educational resources and opportunities from children of poverty as we've invested in ourselves and our own children. Before I leave, I hope you'll take away this one thing. Demand more from yourselves. Demand more from the nonprofits you volunteer with, support, or donate to. Because nonprofit education can be transcendent. Because we can do such amazing things for the lives of those who are otherwise fated to live and die in poverty. But we have to dig deep, and we have to work hard. Long-term educational intervention is not an easy or quick solution, but it is a real solution. And it works. Thank you.